The silence inside St. Mary's Medical Center felt heavier than the walls themselves. Doctors walked carefully through the brightly lit hallway, speaking in whispers as if even the slightest sound might shatter something fragile. Outside the hospital's private genetics laboratory stood Ethan Blackwood. At 54 years old, Ethan wasn't just one of America's wealthiest businessmen. He was the founder of Blackwood Holdings, a billion-dollar empire built over 3 decades. Newspapers described him as fearless in business and impossible to deceive. Yet today, his hands trembled. In his right hand rested a sealed white envelope. Across the front were only 4 words. Confidential DNA paternity results. He stared at it without opening it. Across the hallway sat his wife, Sophia Blackwood, 36 years old, elegant, calm, still wearing the hospital bracelet from giving birth only 2 days earlier. Their newborn daughter slept peacefully in her arms, unaware that her entire future was hanging inside the envelope Ethan refused to open. Neither of them spoke. The silence stretched for almost a minute. Finally, Ethan looked at her. "I gave you everything." His voice was cold. "The house, the company shares, my name, my trust." His eyes filled with disappointment. "And this is how you repay me?" Sophia didn't answer immediately. Instead, she gently kissed the baby's forehead. Then she looked directly into his eyes. There wasn't anger. There wasn't fear. Only quiet certainty. Her next words stunned everyone standing nearby. "Run every DNA test." Several nurses exchanged confused glances. Even Dr. Karen Mitchell, the hospital's chief genetic specialist, stopped writing on her clipboard. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. "You've already seen the results." Sophia slowly shook her head. "No, I've seen a lie." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You expect me to believe the laboratory made a mistake?" "No," she answered softly. "I believe someone made sure the laboratory couldn't tell the truth." The hallway became perfectly silent. Even the newborn seemed unusually still. Dr. Mitchell stepped forward carefully. "Mrs. Blackwood, our laboratory follows the highest standards." Sophia looked at the doctor. "I know. That's exactly why I know this report isn't your mistake." For the first time, the doctor looked uncomfortable. She frowned. "What do you mean?" Sophia's eyes drifted toward the laboratory door behind her. Then she whispered something that made the doctor's face turn pale. "Someone entered your records room at 2:17 yesterday morning." The clipboard slipped from Dr. Mitchell's hand. It crashed onto the polished floor. Ethan noticed. "So," he said quietly, "you know something?" Sophia nodded. "I know someone wants this family destroyed." Ethan finally tore open the envelope. His eyes scanned the report. The color drained from his face. His breathing became uneven. He read one sentence again, then again. Finally, he looked at his wife. "The report says, I'm not the baby's father." No one moved. No one breathed. Sophia slowly stood, still holding the baby. She took one step toward Ethan, then another, until they stood face to face. She looked down at the report, then back into his eyes. Without raising her voice, without shedding a single tear, she said, "That's why I told you to run every DNA test. Because this is only the beginning." Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The words hung in the air like smoke. This is only the beginning. Ethan stared at his wife, searching for even the smallest sign that she was lying. There wasn't one. No trembling hands. No tears. No desperate excuses. Just quiet confidence. It unsettled him more than any confession ever could. He slowly folded the DNA report and slipped it back into the envelope. "Tell me the truth." Sophia didn't answer. Instead, she looked at Dr. Karen Mitchell. "I have a question." The doctor nodded nervously. "When was the sample tested?" Dr. Mitchell glanced at the report. "Yesterday morning." "What time?" "Around 8:30. Sophia frowned. "No, I'm asking when the sample first entered your laboratory." Dr. Mitchell hesitated. I'd have to check." "Please do." The doctor disappeared behind the security door. The hallway fell silent again. Ethan's younger brother, Daniel Blackwood, arrived moments later. His expensive suit looked rushed, as though he'd dressed in a hurry. "I came as soon as I heard." His eyes landed on the envelope. "So, it's true." Ethan nodded without speaking. Daniel slowly turned toward Sophia. "I defended you. I told Ethan there had to be another explanation. But now," he shook his head, "the evidence is right there." Sophia met his gaze. "Is it?" Daniel looked confused. "You think the report is fake?" "I think someone wanted Ethan to see that report today." "Why today?" She smiled sadly. "Because today is the only day it could destroy our family." Daniel frowned. "What are you talking about?" Before Sophia could answer, Dr. Mitchell returned. Only this time, she wasn't alone. Beside her walked the hospital's information technology manager. He looked pale, very pale. Dr. Mitchell swallowed hard. "Mrs. Blackwood, you were correct." The hallway became silent once more. "What do you mean?" Ethan demanded. The IT manager opened a laptop. Our laboratory records show someone accessed the genetics database yesterday. Ethan's expression hardened. That's impossible. It requires 3 levels of security. It does. The IT manager replied quietly. And whoever entered used an employee authorization card. Daniel folded his arms. So one of your employees changed the report? The manager shook his head. That's the strange part. No records were edited. No files were deleted. No DNA profiles were replaced. Everyone looked confused. Sophia didn't. She already knew. What was changed? The IT manager looked directly at her. The printer. Silence. The printer. Ethan asked. The manager nodded. The report stored in our database doesn't match the report that was printed. Nobody spoke. The words barely made sense. Dr. Mitchell quickly opened another folder. This. She placed a fresh report on the table beside Ethan. Is the original. Ethan grabbed it. His heartbeat quickened. His eyes raced across the page. Then, he froze. His breathing stopped. This can't be. Daniel snatched the paper. His own eyes widened. The new report read, probability of paternity, 99.9998%. Ethan was the child's biological father. The hallway erupted with confusion. Nurses whispered. Doctors stared at one another. Someone had switched the printed report without changing the laboratory records. Daniel looked up. If the real report says Ethan is the father, who gave us the first one? Nobody answered. Because no one knew. Then, Sophia quietly reached into her handbag. I think, she said. I know why. She removed a small white envelope. It looked old. The corners were worn. Across the front, only one sentence was written. Do not trust anyone inside the family. Ethan looked at it in disbelief. Where did you get that? It was delivered to our house. When? The night before I went into labor. You never told me. I tried. She lowered her eyes. But someone deleted every voicemail I left you. Daniel's face changed. What? Sophia slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. She handed it to Ethan. The moment he saw it, the blood drained from his face. It was an old family photograph taken nearly 20 years earlier. At first, everything looked normal. Then Ethan noticed something. Standing in the background, watching his family from a distance, was a man no one recognized. Yet somehow, he was smiling directly at the camera. Sophia whispered, I've checked every family photograph we've ever taken. He appears in 17 of them. Daniel laughed nervously. That's impossible. We would have noticed. Sophia slowly shook her head. No, you didn't. Because every time he appeared, you were looking at someone else. Just then, Ethan's phone vibrated. Unknown number. He answered. A distorted voice spoke only one sentence. Don't waste your time looking for the man in the photographs. A long pause followed. Then the voice added, you should be looking for the person who invited him into your family. The call disconnected. Ethan looked up slowly. For the first time in his life, he realized the DNA report had never been the real mystery. It was only the distraction. And somewhere very close to him, someone was smiling. The phone call lasted less than 10 seconds. Yet those few words echoed inside Ethan's mind long after the line went dead. You should be looking for the person who invited him into your family. He lowered the phone slowly. His eyes met Sophia's. For the first time since the DNA report appeared, he wasn't looking at her with suspicion. He was looking at her with questions. Daniel stepped forward. Let me see those photographs. Sophia handed him the stack. There were old family vacations, Christmas dinners, charity galas, birthday celebrations, 20 years of memories. At first glance, everything looked perfectly ordinary. But then Daniel noticed it. The same man, standing in the background, never close enough to attract attention, never far enough to disappear. Sometimes wearing a security uniform, sometimes a gardener's jacket, sometimes dressed as a waiter. In every picture, he was watching the Blackwood family and smiling. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. Who is he? Sophia answered quietly. I don't know. But whoever he is, he wanted us to notice him. Ethan frowned. If that's true, why hide in the background? Sophia looked toward the hospital window. Because people never notice what's always there. No one replied. The words settled heavily over the room. An hour later, the Blackwood family returned to their estate. The mansion sat on a hill overlooking the city, surrounded by towering oak trees and iron gates. Normally, it felt like the safest place in the world. Today, it felt different. Every hallway seemed longer. Every shadow seemed darker. Every family portrait suddenly felt like it was hiding something. Ethan walked straight into his private office. Bring every family photo album we own. The house staff immediately began searching. Within 30 minutes, the dining table was covered with albums dating back nearly 30 years. Ethan turned the pages one by one. Vacation after vacation. Holiday after holiday. Then, there he was again. The same man. Always smiling. Always watching. Daniel grabbed another album. There. He pointed toward the corner of a picture taken at Ethan's 50th birthday party. The stranger stood beside a fountain. No one around him seemed to notice he was there. Sophia opened another album. He appears here too. Family reunion. 5 years earlier. Again. Watching. Not speaking. Just watching. Ethan felt his heartbeat quicken. How could no one have seen him? His longtime housekeeper, Margaret, quietly entered the room carrying a tray of coffee. She stopped the moment she saw the photographs. The tray slipped from her hands. Porcelain cups shattered across the marble floor. Everyone turned toward her. Margaret's face had gone completely white. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Margaret, do you know this man? She immediately shook her head. No, but her voice trembled. It was the first time Ethan had ever seen her afraid. He walked toward her slowly. You've worked for my family for 28 years. If you've seen him before, tell me. Margaret lowered her eyes. Before she could finish, the lights suddenly went out. The mansion was swallowed by darkness. Someone gasped. A second later, the emergency generator came to life. The lights flickered back on. Margaret was gone. The back door stood wide open. A cold wind swept through the hallway. Daniel ran outside. Margaret. No answer. Only silence. Sophia looked toward the security monitors mounted on the wall. Every screen had turned black. Then, one by one, the monitors came back online. Instead of showing the estate, every screen displayed the same sentence. Stop looking at the photographs. The message remained for 3 seconds. Then it disappeared. The normal camera feeds returned. Daniel stared in disbelief. Someone hacked our security system. Ethan immediately called the head of security. No one leaves this property. Search every building. Check every camera. Find Margaret. Within minutes, guards spread across the estate. 10 minutes later, the head of security returned. His expression was grim. We searched everywhere. And there was no sign of Margaret. Ethan clenched his fists. She couldn't have vanished. The guard hesitated. Sir, we found something else. He placed a small brass key on the table. Attached to it was a faded paper tag. Written in neat handwriting were 4 chilling words. The attic knows everything. No one in the family had entered the mansion's attic in over 15 years. Ethan looked toward the ceiling. A strange feeling settled over him. Whatever secrets his family had been hiding, they hadn't started at the hospital. They had started inside this house. And someone had just invited them to uncover the truth. For several seconds, no one spoke. The old brass key lay in the middle of the dining table. It looked ordinary, small, worn, yet somehow, it felt heavier than the DNA report that had almost destroyed Ethan's marriage. Daniel picked it up carefully. The attic. He looked at Ethan. I thought you had it sealed years ago. Ethan nodded. I did, after my father's funeral. Sophia looked at him. You've never told me what was up there. I've never been back. His answer came so quickly that everyone noticed. Sophia frowned. You sealed an entire floor of your home and never once wondered what was inside. Ethan looked away. I had my reasons. Before anyone could ask another question, the grandfather clock in the hallway chimed. 8 slow echoes filled the mansion. The sound felt strangely unsettling. Daniel glanced toward the staircase. Well, I guess we're about to find out. The attic staircase was hidden behind a narrow wooden door at the end of the 3rd-floor hallway. No one had opened it in years. Dust covered the handle. Cobwebs stretched across the corners. Ethan inserted the brass key. It turned effortlessly. A loud click echoed through the hallway. Daniel pushed the door open. Cold air drifted down the staircase. It carried the smell of old wood and forgotten memories. Sophia adjusted the sleeping baby in her arms. You stay here, Ethan said quietly. She looked at him. You still think I'm safer downstairs? I know you are. For the first time that day, there was no anger in his voice. Only concern. Sophia nodded. I'll wait. Ethan, Daniel, and 2 security guards climbed the narrow staircase. Each step groaned beneath their weight. Flashlights swept across the darkness. The beam finally settled on a large room. Furniture covered in white sheets. Stacks of dusty boxes. Old paintings. Broken clocks. Nothing unusual. Daniel sighed. Looks like someone wanted to scare us. But Ethan wasn't listening. He had noticed something strange. Unlike everything else in the attic, one section of the wooden floor was perfectly clean. No dust. No cobwebs. Someone had been there recently. He walked toward it. His flashlight revealed faint scratch marks, as though something heavy had been dragged across the floor. Help me. The security guards pulled away an old bookshelf. Behind it, they found a steel door. Daniel stared. I've lived here my whole life. I never knew this existed. There was no handle, only a small fingerprint scanner. Ethan laughed bitterly. A fingerprint scanner? This wasn't built by my father. One of the guards examined it. It looks new. Very new. Then, a tiny green light blinked. A mechanical voice echoed from inside the wall. Fingerprint recognized. Everyone froze. Nobody had touched the scanner. With a metallic hiss, the door slowly opened. A narrow staircase descended into darkness. Daniel whispered, "Who opened it?" No one answered, because no one knew. The room below looked nothing like the rest of the mansion. Bright white walls, modern lighting, computer servers, security monitors, shelves filled with neatly labeled files. It looked less like a basement, and more like a private surveillance center. Dozens of monitors covered one entire wall. Every screen displayed a different part of the Blackwood estate. Front gate, kitchen, library, bedrooms, garage, even Ethan's private office, Sophia's reading room, the nursery. Daniel took a step backward. My God, they've been watching us. For how long? Ethan noticed dates beneath each video archive. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Some recordings were over 20 years old. Someone had secretly recorded nearly every moment of the family's lives. Then Daniel saw another cabinet. Inside were 7 thick folders. Each one had a family member's name printed on the front. Ethan Blackwood, Sophia Blackwood, Daniel Blackwood, Margaret Evans, and 3 more names neither of them recognized. Ethan opened his folder. Inside were hundreds of pages. Every business meeting, every vacation, every argument, every phone call. Someone had documented his entire life. Near the back, a handwritten note fell onto the floor. He picked it up. It read, "Subject remains unaware. Continue observation." Ethan's heart pounded. Subject. He whispered. I wasn't being watched. I was being studied. At that exact moment, one of the security monitors flickered. The screens turned black. Then a single live video appeared. Sophia. She was still downstairs in the nursery, rocking the baby gently, completely unaware she was being watched. Then, a shadow moved behind her. A tall figure stepped silently into the room. His face remained hidden. His gloved hand slowly reached into his coat. Daniel shouted instinctively, Sophia, but his voice couldn't reach her. They were only watching a live feed, not speaking to it. The stranger took another step closer. Sophia still hadn't turned around. Ethan bolted toward the staircase. His pulse thundered in his ears. If he wasn't fast enough, whatever this person wanted, it was about to happen. Ethan ran. His polished shoes slammed against the wooden staircase as he rushed toward the second floor. Daniel was only a few steps behind him. The 2 security guards followed, shouting into their radios. Lock every exit. Protect Mrs. Blackwood. The mansion echoed with footsteps. Ethan had never moved this fast in his life. As he reached the nursery door, he threw it open. Sophia. The room was silent. The baby slept peacefully in her crib. Sophia stood beside the window. Alone. She slowly turned toward him. Her expression was calm. Ethan, what happened? He looked around frantically. The man. There was someone behind you. Sophia frowned. I've been alone. Daniel rushed inside, breathing heavily. The cameras showed someone. There was definitely someone. Sophia looked genuinely confused. I haven't seen anyone. Ethan immediately called for the head of security. Search this room. Every inch. Within minutes, the guards examined every window, every closet, every hallway connected to the nursery. Nothing. No footprints. No forced entry. No signs that anyone had been there. One of the guards finally spoke. Sir, it's as if the person never existed. Ethan refused to accept it. Then the cameras were manipulated. Daniel shook his head. But we saw him. We all did. Sophia suddenly remembered something. Wait. She walked toward the baby's crib. There was something. She reached beneath the soft pink blanket. Hidden underneath was a tiny silver music box. Ethan stared. That wasn't here before. Sophia slowly picked it up. It was beautifully crafted. Old. Elegant. On the lid, someone had engraved a single sentence. Every family has one secret it refuses to remember. Daniel whispered, Don't open it. But before anyone could stop her, Sophia turned the tiny key. The music box began playing a soft lullaby. A melody so familiar. Ethan's face turned pale. No, he whispered. It can't be. Sophia looked at him. You know this song? Ethan nodded slowly. My mother used to sing it. Every night. Daniel frowned. I don't remember that. You wouldn't. Ethan replied. You were too young. The melody suddenly stopped. A quiet click echoed inside the music box. A hidden compartment opened. Inside was a folded piece of paper. Sophia carefully unfolded it. Her hands began to tremble. What is it? Ethan asked. She couldn't answer. Instead, she handed him the note. Written in neat black ink were 12 chilling words. Your father never trusted the wrong woman. Beneath that, another sentence. He trusted the wrong brother. Silence filled the nursery. Daniel laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. Someone's trying to divide us. Ethan wasn't listening. His mind had already traveled back 23 years. To the night his father died. Officially, Richard Blackwood had suffered a massive heart attack. But Ethan suddenly remembered something he hadn't thought about in decades. The argument. Hours before his father's death, he had heard shouting coming from his father's study. Only two voices. His father and Daniel. Back then, Daniel had been only 23 years old. When Ethan asked what happened, both men claimed it had been nothing more than a disagreement about the family business. He had believed them. Until now, Daniel noticed Ethan staring at him. What? You don't actually believe this note? Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he quietly asked, where were you the night Dad died? Daniel blinked. What? You heard me. Daniel looked offended. I was at home. No. Ethan said. You weren't. The room fell silent. Daniel's confidence disappeared for the first time. How would you know? Ethan slowly closed his eyes. Because. I remember waiting for you. You never came. Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came out. At that exact moment, the mansion's landline telephone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. No one moved. Sophia finally answered. Hello. A calm elderly woman's voice spoke. If you're listening, you've finally reached the right chapter. Sophia's heart skipped a beat. Who is this? The woman ignored the question. Don't accuse Daniel. Not yet. There are still 2 people in that house who are pretending to be members of your family. The line went dead. Sophia slowly lowered the receiver. She looked at Ethan, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan, if she's telling the truth, we've been living with strangers. And somewhere inside the mansion, a floorboard creaked. Someone else had just heard every word. No one moved. The old telephone hung silently in Sophia's hand. The mysterious caller's final words echoed through the nursery. There are still 2 people in that house who are pretending to be members of your family. Daniel let out a nervous laugh. This is insane. Someone is playing games with us. But no one agreed. Not even Ethan. Because everything that had happened over the past 24 hours pointed to one terrifying possibility. Someone knew the Blackwood family better than they knew themselves. That evening, Ethan ordered every employee to gather in the mansion's grand ballroom. Housekeepers, chefs, gardeners, drivers, security guards, personal assistants. 23 people stood quietly beneath the enormous crystal chandelier. Ethan walked slowly across the room. His eyes never left their faces. I've known some of you for over 20 years. His voice was calm. But today, I realized something. I don't actually know all of you. No one spoke. He continued. Until we find out who's behind this. No one leaves this estate. A murmur spread across the room. One of the security guards stepped forward. Sir, the police are outside. Ethan frowned. I didn't call the police. Neither did anyone else. 2 detectives entered the ballroom. Detective Laura Bennett and Detective Michael Ross. Laura removed her badge. Mr. Blackwood, we received an anonymous tip. What kind of tip? She hesitated. That someone inside this house is about to be murdered. The room instantly fell silent. Daniel scoffed. Another anonymous message? This is getting ridiculous. Detective Bennett ignored him. Who else lives here? Ethan introduced everyone. The detectives wrote down every name. Then Laura looked around the ballroom. Is everyone present? The head butler answered immediately. Yes. Sophia slowly shook her head. No. Everyone turned toward her. Margaret, the missing housekeeper. She still hadn't been found. Detective Ross requested access to the mansion's security system. Within minutes, they were sitting inside the hidden surveillance room beneath the attic. Laura stared at the hundreds of monitors. I've never seen anything like this. Ross began reviewing the recordings. Hour after hour. Day after day. Then, he stopped. Laura, you need to see this. The screen showed footage from exactly 1 week earlier. The front entrance. Margaret was welcoming a visitor. She smiled warmly, as if she already knew him. The visitor handed her a small envelope. She looked frightened. Then, instead of taking it to Ethan, she hid it beneath her apron. Laura paused the video. Who was that man? Nobody recognized him. Except Sophia. She stepped closer to the screen. No. Ethan looked at her. What is it? I've seen him before. Where? She closed her eyes, trying to remember. Then suddenly, she opened them. The hospital. Everyone froze. He was standing near the maternity ward the morning I gave birth. Detective Bennett zoomed in on the man's face. For the first time, everyone saw him clearly. Gray hair, blue eyes, small scar beneath his left ear. Daniel suddenly gasped. I know him. Every head turned. You do? Daniel nodded slowly. I've seen him in one of Dad's old business files. What business file? I don't remember. But, his voice became quieter. He wasn't an employee. He was. Before Daniel could finish, the lights flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. Every monitor went black. The detectives immediately reached for their flashlights. Then, one screen turned back on. Only one. A live video feed. It showed the mansion's grand ballroom. Completely empty. Except for one thing. Hanging above the fireplace, where the Blackwood family portrait had always been, was a new photograph. The detectives rushed upstairs. Everyone followed. When they entered the ballroom, the portrait was exactly where the camera had shown it. But it wasn't the same portrait. Someone had replaced it. The frame was identical. The background was identical. The family members were identical. Except, there was one extra person, standing directly behind Ethan, his hand resting gently on Ethan's shoulder. The same smiling man from every old photograph. But this time, he wasn't hiding in the background. He was standing with the family, as though he had always belonged there. Sophia stepped closer. Then she noticed something written in tiny letters at the bottom of the frame. She whispered the words aloud. The greatest deception isn't convincing strangers you're family. It's convincing family you're a stranger. A cold silence filled the ballroom. Then Detective Bennett slowly turned toward Ethan. Mr. Blackwood, I think this story didn't begin with your daughter's DNA test. She looked back at the altered portrait. I think it began decades ago. The day someone became part of your family without anyone asking who they really were. Ethan slowly reached toward the photograph. His fingers froze. Behind the smiling stranger, someone had scratched 3 words into the glass. He's still alive. Ethan's heartbeat stopped, because the man those words referred to had supposedly died 23 years ago. Ethan's fingers tightened around the edge of the altered family portrait. His eyes remained fixed on the smiling stranger whose hand rested comfortably on his shoulder. The longer he stared, the more impossible the picture became. I would remember him. His voice was barely audible. I would remember someone standing that close to me. Detective Laura Bennett slowly removed the photograph from its frame. This wasn't edited with modern software. She examined the paper under the ballroom lights. The aging of the ink. The paper. The chemicals. They're all consistent. Daniel frowned. What does that mean? Laura looked up. It means this photograph is old. Very old. It wasn't altered yesterday. It was created years ago. Silence settled over the room. Sophia took a slow breath. So either the photograph is real, or someone has been planning this for decades. Neither explanation comforted anyone. Detective Ross carefully searched the back of the wooden frame. Laura, I found something. He pulled out a folded envelope hidden inside the frame. The paper was brittle with age. Across the front, in elegant handwriting, were 4 simple words. To my eldest son. Ethan immediately recognized the handwriting. His father's, Richard Blackwood. His hands trembled as he unfolded the letter. Inside, there was only 1 page. Ethan, if you're reading this, it means someone has finally found what I hid. If that day ever comes, don't believe everything written in my official will. I wrote a second one. They made sure it disappeared before anyone could read it. Ethan's heartbeat quickened. They? Laura asked. He kept reading. The person you trust the most has spent years making sure our family remembers only half the truth. Daniel looked away. No one noticed. Ethan continued. If you ever discover the hidden will, you'll finally understand why I spent the last years of my life pretending not to notice what was happening inside this house. The letter ended abruptly. No signature. No explanation. Only one final sentence written across the bottom of the page. Start with the library. That's where I left the first key. 20 minutes later, the entire family stood inside Richard Blackwood's old library. Nothing had changed since the day he died. The leather chair still faced the fireplace. His reading glasses still rested on the desk. Rows upon rows of books lined the walls. It felt less like a room, and more like time had simply stopped. Sophia walked slowly toward the bookshelf. Your father loved history. Ethan nodded. He never let anyone reorganize these shelves. Detective Ross examined the books carefully. Sometimes hidden compartments aren't inside the walls. They're inside the furniture. Everyone began searching. Books, drawers, cabinets, fireplace. Nothing. After nearly an hour, Daniel sighed. We're chasing ghosts. Sophia wasn't listening. Her eyes rested on an old globe in the corner of the room. Something seemed wrong. She walked toward it. The globe spun effortlessly. But one country had been scratched away, right where North America should have been. Someone had carved a tiny Roman numeral. 7. Sophia gently pressed it. A soft click echoed through the room. Behind the bookshelf, a narrow compartment slid open. Inside, rested a small iron lockbox. Ethan lifted it onto the desk. There was no keyhole, only a 4-digit combination dial. Detective Bennett looked inside the compartment. There wasn't anything else. Sophia reached deeper. Her fingers touched another piece of folded paper. She unfolded it. This one wasn't written by Richard. It had been typed. The message was chillingly short. If you open the box, you're already too late. Before anyone could react, the mansion's security alarm screamed. A guard burst into the library, breathless. Mr. Blackwood. What is it? The vault. What about it? It's open. Ethan's face went pale. What was inside? The guard swallowed hard. Your father's original will is gone. No broken locks. No shattered windows. No signs of forced entry. Whoever had taken it already knew exactly where it was hidden. And more terrifying still, they had been inside the mansion while everyone else was searching the library. No broken locks. No shattered windows. No signs of forced entry. Whoever had taken it already knew exactly where it was hidden. And more terrifying still, they had been inside the mansion while everyone else was searching the library. But the biggest question wasn't who stole Richard Blackwood's original will. It was, who knew it even existed? Who is the mysterious man who has appeared in the Blackwood family's photographs for decades? Why has he been watching them all these years? And who inside the Blackwood family is still hiding the truth? Share your theory in the comments below. Who do you think is the mastermind behind everything? If you're enjoying this psychological mystery thriller, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. Because the next chapter will reveal secrets that change everything. To be continued.